Good morning. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner of World Weather Incorporated with a special weather update here for hard red winter wheat areas and some of the soft wheat areas in regard to the cold weather that occurred during the weekend. You're looking at a snow cover chart on Friday, and Friday morning there was no snow on the ground from southern portions of Alberta and southwestern Saskatchewan through Montana into South Dakota and Nebraska, even Kansas, and on over into the heart of the Midwest. And you can see the low temperatures that occurred on Friday morning were brutally cold already, with temperatures in the negative teens and negative single digits in Montana, portions of South Dakota, in the negative and positive single digits in Nebraska, and we even saw temperatures below zero in Illinois. And all of that area, including northern Missouri, of course, was snow-free. And it still looks as though that we are going to continue to encounter some of this cold as we go forward through this week. But it got even colder, of course, as we went forward into Saturday morning. Now, these are the high temperatures on Friday. And the reason for showing you this is to give you an idea how long the temperatures were at a threatening level for those snow-free areas in wheat country. In Montana, the highs on Friday afternoon were in the single digits, and we saw positive and negative single digits in the snow-free areas of South Dakota and Nebraska. And we were still snow-free in parts of Kansas, but it did snow as we got into the day. And we saw temperatures in Illinois also stuck in the positive and negative single digits. These are the highs, like I said, for Friday afternoon. On Saturday morning, we did put some snow on the ground in parts of Kansas, but we were still snow-free in Montana and South Dakota, at least the western two-thirds of South Dakota and Nebraska. And I wanted to point out where the wheat is produced in these areas in relation to the snow-free conditions. There's quite a concentrated area of wheat that's produced in central Montana, also a little pocket in south central and central parts of South Dakota. Nebraska's greatest snows in the the greatest wheat is in the southwest part of the state, and that area was still snow-free on Saturday morning. The temperatures on Saturday morning were still in the negative teens and negative single digits in Montana and South Dakota, and in the negative single digits in Nebraska. Now, as I showed before, there was snow that fell in Kansas, but eastern Colorado and Nebraska were still snow-free Saturday morning, and the same was true for northern Missouri, in fact, a big part of Missouri, as well as Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio. Some of these areas I've just described at this point in time had already been near or below zero for about 36 hours. And as we move forward into the next morning, we did not see any snow accumulate very well in the Midwest. We were still snow-free, and you can see the wheat areas of Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio on Saturday morning were certainly still snow-free. But we did start picking up on some snow on Sunday morning. You can see Illinois, Indiana, and Ohio each picked up on a little bit of light snowfall, but the temperatures were still pretty darn cold across parts of the plains. And you can see Montana and South Dakota and Nebraska and Colorado were still snow-free Sunday morning, and temperatures were still in the negative teens and negative single digits across Montana and South Dakota, even Nebraska. Excuse me. So the potential is that the crown of these wheat plants was exposed to damaging temperatures for a prolonged period of at least 72 hours, and perhaps in some cases longer than that, because it's still cold out there today. And the high temperatures on Saturday did manage to get into some positive teens and even a few lower 20s in Montana and Nebraska. But I'm afraid that some of that warm-up wasn't significant enough after all the time near and below zero. Just in addition to that, from a different perspective, this is the ice accumulations that occurred on Sunday, as of Sunday night, actually. And you can see the scale here with the red colors corresponding to 1/4 to 1/2 inch of ice, the blue getting upwards to between 3/4 of an inch and an inch. And the reason why I'm pointing this out, because we're really talking about wheat, is that winter wheat can smother when it is ice covered for a prolonged period of time. And these are the areas in the deep south that are snow covered still this morning, and the temperatures continue to be quite cold across the region. As far as snow depths is concerned, some pretty impressive depths were noted as we went through the weekend after that snow-free period in the heart of the Midwest. We ended up seeing snow accumulations run from 6 to 15 inches across the lower Midwest. Substantial snows were finally reported in a lot of that area, but out to the west, again, Nebraska, parts of Montana and South Dakota and Colorado did not do very well. Let's take a look at this week's weather because it is going to get a little better from a temperature perspective. This is the surface features starting this morning. You can see that leftovers of the storm are in the northeastern part of the country. And as we go forward through the week, this week, there are no other major precipitation events. There are a few light snow events that occur in Montana and South Dakota, Nebraska, but it's a little too late, I think, is what that's going to come down to. Now, it's very important for you to understand that there's no way anybody can assess how much damage did or did not occur to wheat until it greens. If it doesn't green up, obviously winter kill took place. But the wheat crop can green up and still not yield well. And that is something we won't know about until we get to the harvest. Sometimes this kind of cold will sterilize the wheat plant. And so if that's the case, then reproduction will end up with empty heads. Now, the other issue is that in some of these cases where wheat was injured but not killed, the crop, if conditions are right in the spring, will set new tillers, and each new tiller will have the potential to fill heads normally. So just because we have damage in the middle of winter doesn't necessarily write off the crop completely unless it did die. As we go forward into the latter part of the second week, we do get a little system going across the southern United States, but mostly the Great Lakes region will see some snow. I think you get the idea here. There's not a lot of precipitation coming up. Let's take a look at the temperatures as we go forward through the week. These are morning temperatures now. This morning, this is Monday, we expect to see another very cold morning across a big part of the plains and Midwest. It's probably hard to see the numbers, but hopefully you can see them. We're talking about negative teens and negative single digits in the northern plains. We're going to see temperatures near and below zero all the way down into West Texas and into parts of Oklahoma and the northern Delta. But most of these areas are snow and ice covered at this point. The Midwest will be seeing temperatures in the negative single digits as well, with somewhat warmer readings maybe a little bit further to the east. As we go forward through the week, though, it will get less and less intensively cold. Some areas out in Nebraska and portions of Montana will start seeing nighttime lows in the teens and 20s. That's positive teens and 20s. When we get out towards the end of this week, there may be a few spots in Montana that stay above freezing. That'll probably be somewhat rare, though. So you can kind of see that the cold stays on until we get to the weekend, and then finally we start to see a change there. Let's go back to the beginning of this loop. This will be the Midwest now and the deep South. We'll take a look at the temperatures there. You can see that we still have quite a few mornings here where temperatures are in the positive and negative single digits. The coldest readings, though, will be in the snow field. I don't think you have to worry too much about additional extremes occurring in the south east part of the country. However, there is a chance for some freezes in Florida citrus country. This is Thursday morning. I'm going to back this up just a little bit. There's also a risk here on Wednesday morning, and on Tuesday morning, temperatures should be above freezing in the central part of Florida, but we are going to see risks of frost and freezes in central parts of citrus country for a few days. In the meantime, the coldest air comes down one more time on Saturday, going into Sunday, where we'll see some single digits and teens across the Delta in parts of the interior southeastern states. One last thing to look at here is the high temperatures, just so you can get an idea of how well we'll warm up in the afternoons. Just notice the warmth that comes into the western part of the country while the cold stays in the east. We do see temperatures in the west rising above average, and that heat will only get as far as the high plains region. We will have to wait until next week before we can get significant warming to occur in the Midwest and the northeastern part of the country. This is meteorologist Drew Lerner.